In his teachings, Khalil Gibran beautifully examines how life is a continuous process of self-discovery and personal development. He emphasizes that the difficulties we encounter are not only roadblocks, but rather crucial teachings that mold the very essence of who we are. His words create a tapestry of wisdom. Motivated by the film 7 Life Trials Everyone Must Face, But Few Will Pass. This investigation echoes Gibran's deep understanding of the transformational potential of adversity. Whether it is a test of love, grief, or purpose, each one acts as a furnace that refines our character and deepens our understanding of ourselves. True growth, according to Gibran, comes from facing challenges head-on with fortitude and reflection, rather than running away from them. According to his writing, the strongest souls have emerged from suffering. The most massive characters are seared with scars. This viewpoint is similar to the idea that life's challenges can lead to significant personal growth. In this conversation, we will examine 7 crucial challenges and use Gibran's insight to shed light on their importance. These hardships, like his life teachings, are not only exams to pass, but rather chances to discover our limitless potential and establish closer bonds to our mission and the planet. Trial 1. Confronting the shadow self. Deep within each of us lies a shadow, a part of ourselves we often prefer to ignore. This shadow self isn't inherently bad, but it does hold the parts of us we're reluctant to face: suppressed emotions, hidden fears, unacknowledged desires, and traits we might not be proud of. It's where we store the anger we were taught to hide, the insecurities we pretend don't exist, and the aspects of our personality we think don't fit the image we want to show the world. Confronting this shadow self is one of the most transformative trials we can take on. It's not about indulging in negativity or justifying harmful behaviors, but about acknowledging and understanding the pieces of ourselves we've kept in the dark. This process is essential because denying the shadow doesn't make it go away. It just finds sneaky ways to influence our lives, often without us realizing it. Think about it. Have you ever been irritated by someone, only to realize later that the trait bothering you in them is something you dislike about yourself? That's the shadow at work, projecting what's hidden inside onto the outside world. The good news is that bringing the shadow into the light can lead to a deeper understanding of who we are and help us grow into more authentic versions of ourselves. The shadow isn't born out of nowhere. For most of us, it begins to take shape during childhood, when we learn to adapt to what's acceptable in our families, schools, or societies. Maybe you were told not to show anger, so you learned to suppress it. Or perhaps you were made to feel that being vulnerable wasn't safe, so you buried those emotions. Over time, these repressed parts of you didn't disappear. They just sank deeper into your subconscious. The journey of working with the shadow begins with acknowledgement. It's about getting curious and asking yourself, what am I hiding? What do I dislike in others that might be a reflection of something I've buried in myself? For example, if someone's confidence rubs you the wrong way, could it be highlighting your own unmet desire to feel self-assured? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they open the door to greater self-awareness. One effective way to start exploring the shadow is through journaling. Writing is a safe space where you can reflect on your emotions, patterns, and reactions without judgment. Let yourself be honest. What triggers you? What parts of yourself do you try to avoid thinking about? Over time, patterns will emerge, giving you clues about the pieces of yourself you've been keeping in the dark. Another helpful approach is to pay attention to your emotional reactions, especially the intense ones. Anger, jealousy, or irritation often point to areas where the shadow is at play. Instead of dismissing these feelings, sit with them and ask, what's really going on here? For instance, anger might reveal a boundary you need to set or an old wound that hasn't healed. Jealousy could highlight something you want but haven't allowed yourself to pursue. If you're looking for deeper guidance, shadow work exercises or therapy can be incredibly valuable. A therapist, particularly one trained in approaches that focus on self-awareness, can help you navigate this journey. They can provide tools and support as you work through difficult emotions and memories. Shadow work exercises might include visualizations, dialogues with your hidden self, or exploring past experiences that shaped your current patterns. It's important to approach this work with compassion. The shadow isn't something to fix or eliminate. It's part of who you are. The goal is integration, not rejection. By accepting these hidden aspects of yourself, you can reclaim the energy it takes to keep them buried. You might even discover strengths or talents you've suppressed alongside the more challenging traits. Of course, this isn't an easy process. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to face discomfort. There may be moments when you feel resistance or shame, but those feelings are part of the journey. The key is to meet them with understanding. You're not broken or flawed for having a shadow. Everyone has one. The work lies in shining a light on it and learning from what it reveals. Over time, as you continue to integrate your shadow self, you'll notice profound changes. You'll feel more whole, more authentic, and more connected to who you truly are. Life becomes less about keeping up appearances and more about embracing your full humanity, the light and the dark, the strengths and the struggles. In this process, you might also find a surprising sense of freedom. When you stop running from parts of yourself, you reclaim the energy spent hiding them. This allows you to show up more fully in your relationships, your work, and your passions. Confronting the shadow self isn't just about understanding yourself. It's about creating space for transformation and growth. The shadow might seem intimidating at first, but it's a teacher in disguise. Within it lie valuable lessons about your past, your desires, and your potential. Facing it is one of life's greatest challenges, but it's also one of the most rewarding. When you dare to look into the depths of who you are, you discover the light that's been waiting on the other side. Trial 2. Embracing solitude and silence. In today's fast-paced, always connected world, the idea of solitude and silence can feel almost alien. We're surrounded by constant noise, notifications buzzing, messages demanding attention, and an endless stream of information vying for our focus. It's no wonder that many of us shy away from quiet moments. They can feel uncomfortable, even unsettling, because they lack the distractions we've grown so used to. Yet, solitude and silence are some of the most powerful tools we have for self-discovery and personal growth. Taking the time to be alone and immerse ourselves in stillness allows us to step away from the chaos and truly listen to what's happening within us. It's in these quiet spaces that we can reflect, process, and connect with the parts of ourselves we often overlook. Without the constant noise of the outside world, we can tune in to our own thoughts, feelings, and desires. It's not about escaping life, but about creating the space to understand it more deeply. Solitude isn't the same as loneliness, though it's easy to confuse the two. Loneliness is the ache of disconnection, a feeling of being cut off from others. Solitude, on the other hand, is a deliberate choice to step back and embrace being with yourself. It's not a state of lacking. It's a state of fullness where you can cultivate a deeper relationship with yourself. When we allow ourselves moments of solitude, we give ourselves permission to breathe, to think, and to simply be. Silence, too, has a transformative quality. When was the last time you truly experienced silence? Not the absence of sound, but a kind of inner stillness where your mind feels clear and you're fully present. In a world filled with endless chatter, both external and internal, silence can feel like a rare gift. It allows us to pause and reset, to step away from the relentless demands of modern life and reconnect with a calmer, more grounded version of ourselves. The benefits of solitude and silence are profound. They help us gain clarity, reduce stress, and foster creativity. In the quiet, we often find answers to questions we didn't even know we were asking. Problems that seemed overwhelming begin to unravel, and new perspectives emerge. Solitude gives us the opportunity to process emotions, to sit with our joys and sorrows without judgment, and to let our minds wander freely. It's a space where we can cultivate self-awareness and learn to trust our inner voice. Disconnecting from external stimuli, however, is easier said than done. It takes conscious effort to carve out moments of stillness in a world that constantly demands our attention. But even small steps can make a big difference. Consider taking a walk in nature, leaving your phone behind, and allowing yourself to fully immerse in the sights and sounds around you. There's something incredibly grounding about being surrounded by the natural world. where the only noise comes from birdsong or the rustle of leaves. Another effective strategy for embracing solitude and quiet is meditation. Meditation isn't about making your mind quiet, unlike what many people think. It involves allowing your ideas to come and go while you observe them objectively. Focusing on your breathing for even a short period of time can help you feel present and at ease. You can become more connected to the present moment and yourself over time with this exercise. If meditation feels intimidating, start with something simpler. Designate a short period each day as your quiet time. This could mean sitting in your favorite chair with a cup of tea, journaling, or simply closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths. The key is to create a ritual that feels meaningful to you, a space where you can step away from the noise and reconnect with yourself. It's also important to acknowledge that solitude and silence can feel challenging at first. When we're used to constant stimulation, the absence of it can feel almost jarring. In the quiet, our thoughts and emotions have a way of bubbling up, sometimes catching us off guard. But this is part of the process. It's in these moments of discomfort that growth happens. By sitting with whatever arises, we build resilience and learn to face ourselves with compassion and honesty. As you begin to embrace solitude and silence, you may notice subtle yet profound shifts in your life. You might find yourself feeling less reactive and more centered, better able to handle challenges with a sense of calm. Your relationships might deepen as you bring a more present and self-aware version of yourself to your interactions. And perhaps most importantly, you may discover a sense of inner peace that no amount of external noise can disrupt. In the end, solitude and silence aren't about escaping the world, but about learning to live in it more fully. They're tools that help us reconnect with who we are beneath all the distractions and noise. By creating space for quiet moments, we give ourselves the chance to recharge, reflect, and grow. In that stillness, we find clarity, strength, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters. So take a moment. Step away from the noise. Sit with yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. You might be surprised by what you discover. Trial 3. Detaching from material possessions. In a world that often equates success with accumulation, the idea of detaching from material possessions can feel counterintuitive. From a young age, we're conditioned to seek comfort and validation in the things we own. Whether it's the latest gadget, a bigger house, or a closet full of clothes, material possessions seem to promise happiness, status, and security. But if we look deeper, we often find that this endless pursuit leaves us feeling anything but fulfilled. True freedom, it turns out, comes not from acquiring more, but from releasing the hold that possessions have over us. Detaching from material possessions doesn't mean rejecting comfort or beauty in life. It's not about living with nothing or renouncing every luxury. Instead, it's about examining our relationship with the things we own and recognizing how much of our energy, time, and emotional well-being is tied to them. Do our possessions serve us, or do we serve them? This question is at the heart of non-attachment. The distinction between needs and wants is a key part of this exploration. Needs are those things that sustain and nourish us: food, shelter, clothing, and tools for daily living. Wants, on the other hand, are often driven by societal pressures, advertising, or a desire to fill an emotional void. While it's natural to have wants and to enjoy the things we've worked hard for, problems arise when those wants start to define our worth or distract us from what truly matters. Think about the experiences in life that have brought you the most joy or meaning. Chances are they don't revolve around possessions. A heartfelt conversation, a walk in nature, or a shared moment with a loved one often leaves a deeper imprint than any material object. Prioritizing these kinds of experiences over the accumulation of things can create a life that feels richer, lighter, and more authentic. However, escaping materialism's hold is not as simple as it seems. It calls for deliberate effort and a readiness to let go of both the tangible things and the narratives we have associated with them. A desire you didn't fully realize may be symbolized by the pricey device you purchased but never used, or by an old clothing you haven't worn in years. Giving up these things can make us feel as though we are giving up a piece of ourselves, but by letting things go, we make room for something fresh, like tranquility, clarity, or the capacity to concentrate on what really counts. One effective initial step in this process is decluttering. Start small, perhaps with a closet corner or a single drawer, and ask yourself, do I use this? Does it make me happy? Does it make my life more meaningful? If not, think about giving the thing away or throwing it away. You could have a feeling of lightness during this process, as if every object you let go of were relieving a burden from your shoulders. Simplifying your surroundings doesn't just create physical space, it also clears mental and emotional clutter. When you're not constantly managing, cleaning, or worrying about your possessions, you free up energy for other pursuits. You might find yourself more present in your relationships, more focused on your goals, or more at peace with your own company. Another powerful practice is gratitude. When we focus on appreciating what we already have, the urge to chase after more begins to fade. Take a moment each day to reflect on the things in your life that truly matter: your health, your relationships, the roof over your head. Gratitude shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance, reminding us that we often already have enough. Detaching from material possessions also invites us to examine deeper fears and insecurities. For many of us, possessions provide a sense of identity or safety. Letting go can bring up fears of loss or feelings of inadequacy. But as we work through these emotions, we begin to realize that our worth isn't tied to what we own. We are more than our belongings, and our security comes from within, not from the things we accumulate. In the end, detaching from material possessions isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about stepping off the treadmill of endless consumption and choosing a life that aligns with your values and priorities. It's about shifting the focus from having to being, from quantity to quality, and from things to experiences. When you embrace this trial, you might be surprised by what you gain. Without the distraction of unnecessary possessions, you create room for clarity, connection, and creativity. Life feels lighter, less cluttered, and more intentional. And perhaps most importantly, you come to realize that the best things in life aren't things at all. Trial 4. Overcoming fear and embracing vulnerability. One of the strongest feelings we may feel is fear. Although it might keep us safe, it can also prevent us from achieving our goals, making deep connections, or leading the lives we truly desire. Fear whispers in our ears, telling us to stay where we're safe and comfortable and don't have to worry about being rejected or failing. However, the reality is that comfort zones are not conducive to growth. It occurs when we confront our anxieties, venture into the unknown, and let our vulnerabilities show. It is impossible to completely erase fear. That is not the goal of conquering it. Being afraid is a normal human emotion. Rather, it's about learning to accept it, deal with it, and go on in spite of it. Understanding how fear manifests in your life is the first step. It could manifest as avoidance, perfectionism, or self-doubt. Perhaps you are hesitant to speak up at a meeting because you fear criticism. Maybe you don't try new things because you can't handle the idea of failing. Fear, in whatever form, thrives on avoidance. Its hold gets stronger the more we attempt to avoid it. Although confronting fear head-on might be frightening, it can also be freeing. When we face our fears, we find that they are frequently less daunting than we initially thought. For instance, when we understand that failure is a necessary part of learning and development rather than the end, the dread of failure becomes less painful. We demonstrate to ourselves that we are capable of handling difficulties and uncertainty by developing courage and resilience each time we confront a fear. Overcoming fear is intimately related to vulnerability. Vulnerability is fundamentally the readiness to present ourselves as we are, flaws and all, without any assurances about how we would be viewed. It's the act of declaring, "This is me," despite the possibility of rejection, judgment, or misunderstanding. That requires a great deal of guts, therefore it's no small matter. However, the magic also occurs when one is vulnerable. We develop a sense of belonging, build trust, and establish stronger connections with people when we are vulnerable. It's not necessary to reveal every aspect of yourself to everyone in order to be vulnerable. It's about being genuine and truthful, especially when doing so seems risky. For example, it may be frightening to acknowledge that you don't know everything at work, yet doing so might lead to fresh ideas and teamwork. In a relationship, expressing your emotions can increase connection and understanding, but it may also make you feel vulnerable. The paradox of vulnerability is that while it feels like weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you're saying that you value honesty and connection more than the illusion of perfection. It's an act of bravery that invites others to do the same. Cultivating vulnerability and overcoming fear go hand in hand. One practical way to start is by stepping outside your comfort zone. This doesn't mean taking huge leaps all at once. Small, intentional steps are just as impactful. If speaking in public terrifies you, start by sharing your ideas in a small group. If rejection feels unbearable, try putting yourself out there in low-stakes situations. Each time you stretch beyond what feels safe, you expand your comfort zone and grow more confident in your ability to handle uncertainty. Self-compassion is yet another essential component. Harsh self-criticism, such as "what if I mess up?" or "what will people think of me?" is frequently accompanied by fear. Self-compassion serves as a reminder that it's acceptable to be flawed, which helps to silence these inner critics. Trying and failing is acceptable. Being human is acceptable. It's easier to take chances and rise to difficulties when you treat yourself with kindness, particularly when you're feeling vulnerable or afraid. When fear becomes overwhelming, mindfulness and breathing techniques can also be helpful. Our bodies frequently respond to dread by acting as if we are in imminent danger, even when the threat is emotional rather than physical. Breathing deeply and slowly can help you recover perspective and relax your nervous system. You can remember that fear is only an emotion and that it doesn't have to control your behavior by engaging in mindfulness exercises like present moment awareness. Overcoming fear and accepting vulnerability has the wonderful impact of changing your life. You become stronger and more self-assured every time you confront a fear or let yourself be vulnerable. You encourage others to follow suit. Being vulnerable is infectious. When you show up with authenticity, it allows others to do the same, leading to more meaningful and profound connections. Freedom, the freedom to live fully, unreservedly, and authentically, is ultimately at the center of this trial. It's about accepting life's uncertainties and beauty and escaping the bonds of fear. It's acceptable if you make mistakes along the road. Every action you take to embrace your weaknesses and face your fears is a step closer to living a fuller, more satisfying life. Although fear may never completely go away, you may learn to live with it and realize that it need not be a barrier to your success. Trial 5. Letting go of the past. The past has a way of clinging to us, doesn't it? Old hurts, regrets, and grudges can linger in the background of our lives, casting long shadows over the present. We carry them like heavy bags, weighed down by what was, unable to fully embrace what is or imagine what could be. Letting go of the past is one of the most challenging yet liberating trials we face. It's about finding the courage to release what no longer serves us so we can move forward with clarity and freedom. Holding on to past hurts often feels like a way to protect ourselves. A grudge can act like armor, reminding us not to trust too easily or risk getting hurt again. Regret might feel like a way of honoring mistakes, as though clinging to them will somehow make us better. But the truth is, this kind of holding on doesn't protect us. It limits us. It keeps us tethered to pain and prevents us from living fully in the present. Forgiveness is a cornerstone of letting go. And while forgiveness is often talked about in the context of others, it's just as important, if not more so, to forgive ourselves. We all make mistakes, say things we wish we hadn't, or act in ways we later regret. But punishing ourselves indefinitely doesn't change the past. It only deepens the wound. Forgiving yourself isn't about excusing bad behavior or pretending it didn't happen. It's about acknowledging your humanity and deciding to move forward with kindness and self-compassion. Forgiving others can be equally transformative. When someone hurts us, it's natural to hold on to anger or resentment as a way of making sense of the pain. But over time, these emotions can take on a life of their own, consuming more energy than the original hurt ever did. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the harm or forgetting it happened. It's not about the other person at all. It's about freeing yourself. When you let go of resentment, you reclaim your peace of mind and create space for healing. Naturally, letting go is a process that takes time. It's a process, and each person's experience will seem different. Sometimes the first step is to accept the pain rather than try to ignore it. This is a necessary step, but it may be painful or uncomfortable. Something you haven't fully recognized cannot be released. Clarity and healing can be achieved by taking the time to consider what you're hanging on to and why it matters to you. During this period, mindfulness exercises might be especially beneficial. You are reminded that the past is only in your head when you concentrate on the here and now. Even if they were genuine at the time, the hurt, sorrow, and rage are no longer present. You can establish a sense of separation from the past and start to release its hold on you by focusing on the present. Another effective method for letting go is journaling. You can process your feelings and thoughts in a private and secure way by putting them in writing. You might compose a letter to someone who has wronged you, just to let them know what you need to say, without intending to send it. Or you may write about a regret, examining how it has influenced you and what you've learned from it. By giving expression to feelings that could otherwise feel overwhelming, journaling helps you better control and lessen the likelihood that they will hold you back. Another helpful tool for people who have trouble letting go of the past is therapy. Sometimes we carry deep-seated pain that is connected to complicated situations or unresolved trauma. A therapist can offer you the direction, encouragement, and methods you need to process your feelings in a way that feels secure and effective. Seeking assistance is a show of strength and dedication to your own well-being, and it is never a sign of weakness. To let go of the past is not to completely forget it or act as though it never happened. It's about altering how you relate to it. You learn to view it as a part of your story, one that has formed you but does not control you, rather than allowing it to define you or dictate your decisions. The past can serve as a teacher, imparting knowledge and understanding that aids in personal development. But eventually, you have to go on to the next chapter and cease going back to the same one. You give yourself the chance for a better, more liberated future when you let go of the past. You make room for fresh encounters, connections, and chances. You give yourself permission to view the world and yourself in a new light. Although it's not always simple, it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Regaining your power is ultimately what letting go is all about. It's about choosing freedom over the burden of past wounds, growth over stagnation, and serenity over anguish. Yes, it's a journey, but one that's worthwhile. Because you enter the richness of the present and are prepared to embrace everything that life has to offer when you let go of the past. Trial 6. Surrendering to the present moment. Life has a way of pulling us in different directions. The mind loves to wander, either clinging to the past or racing ahead into the future. We replay old conversations, second-guess choices, or imagine outcomes that may never happen. While our thoughts drag us elsewhere, the present moment quietly unfolds, often unnoticed. But the present moment is where life actually happens. It's where we breathe, connect, feel, and experience. Surrendering to it is one of the most profound shifts we can make. But it's not always easy. The pull of the past is strong. It's easy to get caught up in memories, regrets, or unresolved emotions, believing they define us. At the same time, the future calls, whispering promises of success, happiness, or fulfillment, or taunting us with fears of failure or loss. Somewhere in between lies the present moment, patiently waiting for our attention. It's so easy to overlook because it's so ordinary. But when we learn to fully inhabit it, life takes on a depth and richness that's impossible to find anywhere else. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or pretending the future doesn't matter. It's about finding balance. The past is a teacher, full of lessons and memories that shape who we are. The future is a canvas, offering possibilities and opportunities, but neither should overshadow the now. The present is the only place where we have any real power to act, change, or simply be. It's the moment when life breathes and unfolds, and when we miss it, we miss life itself. The benefits of living fully in the present are immense. There's a sense of peace that comes from letting go of the constant tug-of-war between what was and what might be. The mind becomes quieter and less cluttered with worries or regrets. Time seems to expand, and even the simplest moments take on a new beauty. A walk in the park, a shared laugh, or a quiet cup of tea becomes something to savor rather than rush through. Being present allows us to connect more deeply with ourselves, others, and the world around us. Developing mindfulness is one of the best strategies for focusing on the here and now. The goal of mindfulness is not mental clarity or achieving a perfect level of serenity. It is observing what is occurring in the present moment without passing judgment. It's as easy and as difficult as paying attention. Whether you're experiencing a happy moment, a routine task, or even something challenging, mindfulness allows you to approach it with curiosity and openness. Mindful breathing is one method of mindfulness practice. We are constantly anchored to the present by the breath, which is a constant beat. By focusing on your breathing for a little while, you can bring yourself back to the present moment and escape a flurry of ideas. As air enters your nostrils, fills your lungs, and finally exits your body, pay attention to how it feels. It's acceptable for your thoughts to wander, which it will. Just acknowledge its departure and gradually return your focus to your breathing. Developing presence can also be achieved by paying attention to your body. For instance, in a body scan meditation, you focus on the sensations in each area of your body, one at a time. Your hands may feel warm, your shoulders may be tense, or you may feel your feet on the ground. In addition to helping you center yourself, this exercise makes you more conscious of the physical manifestations of stress and emotions, allowing you to deal with them mindfully. Formal activities are not the only way to practice mindfulness. You can incorporate it into your daily routine. For example, washing dishes can be a mindful activity if you focus entirely on it. Experience the sound of the plates clinking, the warmth of the water, and the texture of the soap suds. Savoring each bite and taking in the aromas, textures, and scents may make eating a meal an exercise in the present. When you listen intently, without allowing your thoughts to wander or planning your next move, even conversations can gain greater significance. Surrendering to the present moment isn't about striving for perfection. It's natural for the mind to wander. The practice lies in noticing when it does and gently bringing it back, again and again. Over time, this becomes easier, and the pull of the past and future feels less urgent. When you surrender to the present, life begins to feel lighter. You start to realize that many of the worries that consume you are simply thoughts, fleeting, insubstantial, and not nearly as powerful as they seem. You become more attuned to the beauty and opportunities that surround you, even in the midst of challenges. Each moment becomes a chance to start fresh, to choose presence over distraction, and to experience life more fully. This trial of living in the present moment is ongoing. It's not something you master once and for all. It's a practice you return to, day after day, moment after moment. And in this practice, you discover the gift of being alive, not in the past, not in the future, but right here, right now. Trial 7. Finding Truth Within. Discovering the truth within ourselves is both a struggle and a significant opportunity in a society that frequently looks to other sources for approval and guidance. These days, opinions, counsel, and social expectations can quickly eclipse our inner wisdom. In the hope that their wisdom will lead us in the correct direction, it is all too easy to go to others for solutions and to win their favor from friends, family, or even complete strangers. However, the deeper truth, the type that speaks to our true selves, does not originate from the outside. It originates internally, from the peaceful place where our inner wisdom and intuition live. We must calm down and listen to ourselves on the path to discovering the truth within. The voice of our inner knowledge can be muffled by the din of the outside world, but we can start to hear it more clearly if we give ourselves permission to be quiet and introspective. It's not always simple, and it doesn't happen overnight. Practice, perseverance, and a readiness to tune into something more profound than our ideas or the sounds around us are necessary. Our inner truth isn't always obvious, It's frequently quiet, nuanced, and simple to overlook if we're not looking. Introspection and self-reflection are key practices in this process. When we spend time alone with our thoughts, without distractions, we open up the possibility of connecting with our deeper selves. This isn't about self-criticism or judgment. It's about curiosity, about asking ourselves meaningful questions like, what do I truly value? What do I desire at my core? What fears or beliefs are holding me back? These questions aren't always easy to answer, but when we sit with them long enough, the truth begins to reveal itself. It's also important to cultivate an awareness of our emotions during this process. Our emotions are often messengers of deeper truths, offering insights into our desires, needs, and boundaries. When we feel uneasy or conflicted, it's often a sign that something isn't aligning with our authentic selves. On the other hand, feelings of peace, excitement, or fulfillment often signal that we're moving in the right direction. By learning to tune into these emotional signals, we become more attuned to our inner compass, making it easier to recognize when we're on the path that feels true to us. One of the most powerful tools for connecting with our inner truth is intuition. Intuition is that quiet knowing we experience when a decision feels right, even if we can't logically explain why. It's that gut feeling that leads us toward opportunities or people that align with our values, or the sense of unease that warns us away from situations that don't serve us. Intuition isn't something mystical or unattainable. It's a natural part of being human. But like any skill, it requires practice to strengthen. The more we listen to our intuition and act on it, the clearer and more reliable it becomes. Trusting ourselves is another crucial part of this journey. Often, the reason we look to others for validation is because we doubt our own judgment. But when we place our trust in external sources, we give away our power. The truth within us is always there, but it's up to us to believe in it and honor it. Self-trust is built through consistent action, by making decisions that align with our values and learning from the outcomes, whether they are positive or challenging. Each time we choose to follow our inner wisdom, we build confidence in our ability to navigate life's complexities with authenticity. A strong inner compass isn't something we develop overnight, but rather something that grows stronger with time and practice. It requires us to be honest with ourselves, to confront the parts of us that may be difficult to face, and to align our actions with our values, even when it's uncomfortable. This means choosing authenticity over approval, truth over comfort, and courage over fear. When we live in alignment with our inner truth, we cultivate a deep sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that we are being true to ourselves, regardless of what others may think or expect. This journey of finding truth within is personal, and it will look different for everyone. It's a process of discovery, not perfection. There will be times when we stray from our inner path, when we doubt ourselves, or let the opinions of others cloud our judgment. But each time we return to ourselves, to that quiet space where our truth resides, we come back stronger and more grounded. The more we practice self-reflection, trust, and intuition, the clearer our inner compass becomes, and the easier it is to navigate life with authenticity and confidence. Ultimately, finding the truth within is about freedom. It's about reclaiming the power to live your life according to your own values and desires, not based on what others think is best for you. It's about trusting that the answers you seek are already inside you, waiting to be discovered. And when you begin to honor that truth, life opens up in ways that are both surprising and deeply fulfilling. You no longer need to seek approval or validation from external sources, because you know, without a doubt, that your truth is enough. As you reflect on these 7 trials, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. You already possess everything you need to overcome obstacles and move toward the person you are meant to become. The key is to approach each challenge with openness, patience, and a willingness to learn from every experience. By doing so, you'll discover that the trials themselves are not burdens to bear, but opportunities for growth. So, as you stand at the threshold of your own transformative journey, I encourage you to embrace the challenges that come your way. Know that every difficulty holds within it a seed of growth, every setback a lesson in resilience. Life will always present obstacles, but it is through facing them with courage and self-awareness that you unlock your true potential. Take the first step today, no matter how small, and trust that the journey you embark on will lead you to a place of deeper understanding, peace, and empowerment. You have the power to transform, to evolve, and to step fully into the person you were always meant to be. Your path of self-discovery is waiting, and with each trial you face, you are one step closer to the greatest version of yourself.